Electricast.
This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
What up? It's Interview Style, where we talk about movies or whatever. Iris, in a previous Interview Style, we talked about our ideal movie pitches, kind of like a 5-word pitch, Snakes on a Plane, or Daniel Day-Lewis and Dinosaurs. Today I want to talk about what it would take to carry an idea like that through to fruition and box office success, the 3-act structure. It seems like for the vast majority of hit movies, the 3-act structure is in place, complete with its highs and lows, and there are defining moments, inciting incidents, the dark night of the soul, and it seems like it's a convention to me. Is it a safe framework for movie executives in an office to conceptualize a story, wrap their heads around it? It's like, I'm delivering this in a way that you're familiar with so that you can see the whole story, and it's bound by convention? Or is it really after the fact determined to be that, so many of these great movies happen to follow this formula, it puts us into some psychological flow state? Why is the 3-act structure a success?
I mean, our modern storytelling sensibility goes back all the way to like Aristotle's Poetics and stuff. Well, I'd say it's inherent to storytelling, but that might be a little bit too broad, because I think like music, there's a distinctly Western style of composition and melody and all of these things that we're familiar with. And all of these elements are distinctly different in Eastern music. I'm not saying that these things are absolutes, but they're conventions that we're so familiar with and that are so deeply embedded in our culture that that's how stories work. And you can have a really kind of cynical, reduced view of it and say that there's formula, and some stories take that too far. But overall, this is the modern Western 3-act story structure. It's 3 acts with rising and falling action and conflict and all of these beats that different writers and creators have broken down in different ways. There's Blake Snyder's structure, which we've discussed in previous interview styles. There's Sid Field's structure. There's Jim Hart's Heart Chart, right? People have tried to break down story structure to make it kind of more manageable, to not reduce it in the structuring phase of the creative process, which is the foundation of story, but really the devil's in the details and has a lot to do with an author or creator's personal touch.
When I was in school and I had to write a 2-page paper, let's say, or 1,000 or 2,000 words, and I would get bogged down by everything I wanted to say, usually it was late and I was in the library trying to bang it out the night before it was due, I'd come up with 5 or 6, I hoped, salient points. I would make each one a paragraph. I'd be like, okay, this paragraph needs an introductory sentence, a body, and a closing. And I would construct those points into paragraphs, the paragraphs into a 2-page paper or something. But I felt like it was kind of a hustle, that it was kind of a cheat, that it was held together in a segmented, modular kind of way that would get me the grade I needed because I had a deadline. I'm not sure if it speaks to artistry or to flow and purpose, and if that is conveyed to the reader. If you were doing a crash course, a 5-day crash course in screenwriting for paying students or participants, would day 1 be the 3-act structure because it's effective?
Structure helps you communicate with other people, which is necessary in a highly collaborative art like filmmaking. And if you can't communicate effectively with other people, then what are you doing? People don't have time for your flowery, poetical, unorganized thoughts, right? Who said that I would have written less or made it shorter, but I didn't have the time? Like we create structure in order to communicate in frameworks that are understandable and digestible by other people. To answer your question, no, I don't think structure would be the first thing that I would address, but it certainly helps to organize ideas that might be brilliant and lost if they weren't presented in a structured way.
Interesting. An outline. You got to build the house before you decorate it.
Exactly. I still think you should get your film adaptation course syllabus together.
But I don't know that I would start this way because I'm not convinced. I'm afraid it's a reliable fallback plan because the purpose of screenwriting, unfortunately, is not the grade. It's not for personal satisfaction. It is to sell. And I think that if you base it on a framework that's proven to sell and which is immediately identifiable, recognizable, and trustworthy, you're more likely to sell. Of course, there are exceptions. But there's that thing, that expression that's always kind of mystified me, and that is the exception that proves the rule. How do exceptions prove the rule rather than defy it?
Because you can break down films that supposedly defy structure and show how they actually really closely adhere to it, just in unexpected ways.
And that is why Iris should put together her screenwriting course.
The purpose is not to subvert structure, but if you can bury it in such a way that it becomes unconscious, that it remains subliminal and the story soars, then I think you really hit something special.
So you maintain that it's not just conformity for dum-dums.
Yeah, or formula for people with no imagination, yes.
Yeah, I mean, you can play jazz, but you do need rather a steady backbeat or something, a framework from which you are all operating, right?
I mean, I think so, especially when you're talking about for general enjoyment. If you're really not concerned with that and you're okay with just servicing the fringe, then sure. But movies have to be, for the most part, commercial enterprise. So there's only so much you can do, so much money you can waste on movies that only service a fringe audience.
Tough business, for sure. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And I'm speaking of executives and directors, producers, as well as the viewers. Thanks for playing. Okay, love you, bye.
Uncovered windows can make your home feel up to 20 degrees hotter. Stay cool and save up to 45% off custom window treatments during the summer Black Friday mega sale at Blinds.com. From outdoor shades to room darkening blinds, finding the perfect fit is easy. Get free samples, expert design help, and professional measure and install services, or DIY with confidence and support every step of the way. Shop up to 45% off site-wide, plus huge savings on doorbusters right now during the summer Black Friday mega sale at Blinds.com.
Electric acid.